Bants and Bants. Bants and Bants.
All systems go.
Bants and Bants.
Defiance.
Bants and Bants.
This rebel has a cause.
Bants and Bants.
We begin as wanderers, and we are wanderers still.
Welcome, everyone, to the 56th live edition of Bombs and Bants and Wednesday Rants. As always, I'm your dedicated and humble host, John Wilder, coming to you from an undisclosed location hidden deep beneath the surface of the earth. With me, as always, is Mark.
Hey.
And the missus.
Hello.
How's the week been, everybody?
Pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad.
Anything fun that you would care to share with the class?
Well, no.
Go ahead, Mark. Oh, nothing. I was just going to say that I'm sitting here watching our dog eat a package of hot mustard.
Well, that sounds like it might be fun.
He seems to be enjoying it.
Well, I was growing some human brain cells in rodents. Oh, wait, that's scientists.
Give me that.
Unknown scientists growing human brain cells in rodents. Because that won't lead to a rodent apocalypse at all, will it?
No, everything will be fine.
Fortunately, or actually, unfortunately for the show, we just live in a world where nothing happens. It was so boring we could just close up shop. Oh my! Can you imagine doing this show in 13th century France and today?
Yeah, we'd be burned at the stake for witchcraft, for one thing, and no one would listen to us because there'd be no internet.
Well, yeah, and there would be one.
Well, I mean, we could. I mean, we could do it like little puppet shows, like a Punch and Judy show.
There you go. Yeah.
They'd still burn us, though.
He's a witch. Burn him.
All right, well, let's go. Meanwhile, in the Ukraine, the war continues and things don't seem to be ramping down. President, you have to play the sounder.
What sounder?
The one with his name. President.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Joe Biden.
Oh, you want me to play that one? Okay, hang on. Okay.
Yeah.
Joe Biden.
President
Joe Biden
delivered a striking warning last Thursday night that recent threats from President Vladimir V. Putin of Russia could devolve into a nuclear conflict. Telling supporters at a fundraiser in New York City that the risk of atomic war. Atomic war? What is it, the 1950s? It's nuclear.
It's high pants, fast talkers.
Yes. It's the atomic war. It's the A-bomb. Welcome to the era of giant spiders. Had not been so high since the 1962. See, yeah, I guess you were right. Atomic war, 1962. The Cuban Missile Crisis. We have not faced the prospect of Armageddon since Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Blank said. You have to get the sounder again.
Joe Biden Joe Biden
told the crowd at the second of two fundraisers he attended on Thursday evening. We're trying to figure out what is Putin's
Ramp.
Off-ramp.
That word is ramp, is the word you want.
Yes.
Joe Biden
said, asking, where does he find a way out? Where does he find himself where he does not only lose face, but significant power?
Have a thing. Hang on. I'm moving as lickety-damn split as I can.
And this is great radio.
I know. Well, it's not radio. It's the internet. No one expects quality.
War. War never changes.
Not true. There's missiles and stuff.
Oh, he gets to that.
In the year 1945, my great-great-grandfather, serving in the army, wondered when he'd get to go home to his wife and the son he'd never seen.
This might be the greatest opening to any video game ever
He
made.
got his wish when the U.S. ended World War II by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The world awaited Armageddon. Instead, something miraculous happened.
We got annoying helper butler robots. Yeah, if you don't recognize that, that is the opening sequence from Fallout 4. And what is wrong with you? Why have you not played Fallout 4?
If you don't recognize that, it's a video game. That I play other video games while they play that video game. So Russia rained cruise missiles on busy Ukrainian cities on Monday in what the United States called horrific strikes, killing civilians and knocking out power and heat with its most widespread air attacks since the start of the war. The UN Human Rights Office described the attack as particularly shocking and amounted to potential war crimes.
I was kind of wondering about that. How do they chalk that up as war crimes? It really just kind of falls under the category of war to me.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, did they see it when we bombed, Baghdad? I'm just wondering,
It's it's the targeting of civilians, which is what they're considering to be a war crime.
No, these are Russian missiles. I mean, they're lucky if they're, within the same county. I mean,
I know, but the expectations are higher than what they used to be. Okay. So I'm just explaining. That's the logic and so forth, because you're supposed to do everything you can to minimize collateral damage. So, which of course is contrary to any basic rules of war, where you want to maximize collateral damage so that you can force the people to surrender. But that's a different story. But
that's what von Clausewitz wrote, right? I mean, you force the people so they don't want to fight anymore. And that was actually part of the problem in Iraq, if you ask me, is we went in and 10 days later, boom, we're in Baghdad.
Well, and that was our whole problem with how we were fighting the war in Afghanistan, because historically the only way you win major wars is if you reduce their young population of their young men by at least a third. And that's where you get them, where they just, okay, we're done fighting and all that. But if you look at their demographics, the number of young men of military age actually increased during that whole time that we were there, from the beginning to the end. So of course we were losing the war.
And that alone is a testament to Flintstones vitamins. Once they get the chewable Fred and Barney in them, they're going to grow up great. Okay, so important people who know things say the Ukraine can still win this war if only the West would pony up more money and more weapons. In fact, most of what we've been hearing since February is how the plucky Iranians are pushing
Ukrainians, not Uranians.
Okay, I'm feeling a little under the weather, which if I sound stuffed up, that might explain it. The Uranians.
The Iranians, they've already been nuked. Yeah.
You want to talk about a space invader? Okay. Okay. All right. From now on, this broadcast, the Iranians are pushing back on the Russians, as always, on the brink of total collapse. Over the weekend, Judge Andrew Napolitano spoke with Colonel Douglas, I want to say MacArthur, but it's McGregor, about the war, and asked him if he thought the Iranians could win. His response, no.
Yeah, and that was really all he said. He just goes, do you think the Ukrainians can win this war? And the guy just goes, no. And that was it.
Radio.
Well, then he followed it up with this.
And we both said, yes, it seems as though from 24 February until today, the Ukrainian army has been continually winning. And yet it has lost control of the key terrain that it wanted to retain. It suffered enormous casualties. Of course, we have not reported accurately on Ukrainian losses. And they're quite desperate right now. And hopefully when we talk about other issues in the pipeline, we can get back to this notion of Ukrainian desperation, because I think it's quite real.
And that's tough stuff. And here, again, I have said this before, and I'll say it again, and I'm going to keep saying this throughout the duration of this conflict. This could have been stopped with one phone call from an American president, and he didn't bother to do that.
And it seems like he could stop it now. But it seems like at every turn, we just keep throwing kerosene on that fire. And And really, I don't have a dog in this fight one way or the other. I really kind of see it as the most corrupt country in Europe has invaded the second most corrupt country in Europe. Yeah, the Russians were the aggressors here, but, I just don't think that the Ukrainians are really the bad guy. And we're throwing just money we don't even have that we're just printing.
And see, they don't seem to understand that the Russian economy it revolves around four things: tracksuits, gold chains, vodka, and cell phones. That's it. You stop those four things going into Russia, war over in a matter of minutes.
And, and this is essentially just a border dispute between these two countries. And had we not given the Ukrainians weapons at the beginning of this would have been over pretty quickly. I mean, as inept as the Russians have been in this whole thing, they were prepared for the Ukrainians, not for the United States.
And the other thing I think people miss is Putin here has incredibly strong public backing.
He does in Russia. That has been my feeling from, because I play these big online games with people from all over the world, and all the Russians I run into are, and they try to keep stuff like that out of chat, but instead they put it in their screen names. And so you see things like, Russian 100% Putin and stuff like that as people's screen names because they can't talk about it.
Well, but here's what I've seen is I saw the results of a poll, and it turned out that something like 75-80% of the Russian people are in favor of it. And I'm like, okay, this is another bogus thing. It's another bogus poll. But then as I went down the results, the number of people between the ages of 16 and 29, they're like 12% in favor of it.
Shocking that, right? Wonder why that could be.
Yeah, and the number of people who really
would you like to go die in a pointless war on the border?
Nope. Exactly. and there was overall 5% of the people who took the poll were willing to go down there and fight. So it looked like a real poll. I mean, if they were faking the whole thing, they'd have faked that too. Yes, strong Russians want to go fight for more tracksuits and gold chains and vodka.
Well, and that's the problem, because who can tell what news coming out of there is actually true? Like the guy said in the clip, we haven't heard anything about Ukrainian casualties, and they have to be huge because they've been losing all this time, right?
Well, I think both sides have been losing, honestly.
We could only hope.
Well, I think, I honestly think that from this little bit, I think that you would find that the Ukrainians have mass casualties, as do the Russians. I mean, I've heard 90,000 Russian dead. I would expect the number to be the same or even more. But I also think that Putin has been playing this game with his gloves on. He could have had the entire country in darkness for months now and hasn't.
Well, and that's what this McGregor guy said. And you can find the rest of that video on Napolitano's YouTube channel. It's called Judging Freedom if you want to watch it for yourself. It's about 30 minutes long, the interview is. But that's what this guy says, is that when Putin went in, he didn't plan to kill a bunch of people. That wasn't his plan. His plan was to go in, take these people who were ethnically Russian, who lived, were these the people in Crimea and the Donbass? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yes.
Yeah. And were pro-Russian and kind of bail them out. But those folks kind of, they said, hey, if you come in here and do that and then you leave, the Ukrainian secret police are just going to come over here and kill us because they know we're pro-Russian. And so we're not going to help because we don't want that to happen. You'll be murdered by the Ukrainian secret police?
Nope.
Yeah.
Mark,
No
you've been
wants
awfully
that.
quiet.
Oh, I don't see the Russians as being, any supermen in this type of thing. And frankly, and admittedly, I mean, I'm having to rely on news sources, and as you indicated, the bias is sort of in favor of Ukraine for the information we get. But I mean, frankly, I just see, one Russian failure after another. I mean, I don't disagree. The Ukrainians are probably losing men left and right and have suffered heavy casualties. The Russians, I suspect the Russians at this point have probably lost more though than the Ukrainians. But I mean, you just see the whole attempt to take Kiev was just an exercise in incompetence and the corruption that led to the breakdown of all their vehicles and so forth. And it just goes on and on. I mean, I think if anything, what this war has shown is that the Russian military really isn't much better than what we faced invading Iraq. And, I used to think that the equipment that they provided to the Iraqis and to some of their other allies were like second or third tier compared to what they kept for themselves. I mean, that's what we do. Like if we sell aircraft to another country, is we, it's sort of dumbed down as far as the avionics go. And so I always thought that was probably the case, but really watching what's happening in Ukraine, I'm not sure that's the case. I mean, they may, we saw how crappy everything worked in Iraq, and we've seen how easily the air defense systems in Syria were penetrated by Israeli aircraft. I mean, even F-16s, nothing stealth, just F-16s. And I'm beginning to think that really probably is about as good as what Russia has. So
Russia has always sucked at war. If you read at any war that Russia has been in, it's farce unless it lasts for 4 or 5 years and they finally get an infusion of outside stuff. I think Patton was right.
Well,
I think Patton.
Their biggest skill when it comes to war is just that they have millions and millions of men that they will gladly push in front of machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the end game here in this whole thing with Ukraine, because Ukraine are going to run out of people before Russia does. Even if Russia has to take their own citizens at the point of a gun and say, "Oh yeah, you will go to the front."
Yeah, and John has a point. I mean, and I recognize this is in World War II, but frankly, in World War II, Russia wouldn't have been able to prosecute the war against Germany for as long as they did without U.S. supplies.
Lend-Lease was required,
and
especially trucks, lots and lots of trucks.
So they don't have anybody backing them this time with equipment and so forth. But I don't know. Anyway, they pretty much have sucked at war. I mean, Afghanistan was sort of a joke for them as well. And
well, here's my definition of the win, and I think everyone will agree: we all win if the missiles with the nuclear warheads don't start flying.
Yeah.
I read a sort of interesting, a different in game today where someone was proposing that, maybe the nuclear missiles don't go, but maybe Russia attacks or damages the nuclear reactors throughout Ukraine, such that you end up with a bunch of Chernobyls. And, and as a reminder, I mean, Chernobyl's still there, and they could always crack the protective dome that was put over that, the reactor that melted down there. So, there's a lot of ways that this go south for everybody.
Well, yeah, let's not dip too far into revelations, but let's instead move to a parody commercial.
Are you tired of gulping down the sewage fed to you by the mainstream media?
Yep.
Do you feel like you wake up in a strange, crazy world every day?
You betcha.
Do you wonder how Democrats, progressives, and other communists keep buying into the same old lies?
How did you know?
Then what you need is the brand new prescription strength, once daily, Fug-It-All from Pfizer. With Fug-It-All, you can dumb yourself down to a level that makes modern life tolerable.
The economy is fine.
I'll buy it.
The border is closed.
I'll buy it.
Democrats are defending our democracy.
I'll buy it.
With new Fug-It-All, you will rest easy, knowing you'll never have to think for yourself again.
Warning, this drug may produce side effects such as itching, nausea, muscle cramps, continuous bleeding from all of your orifices, a tendency to vote for Democrats, or even sudden death. Some of these side effects may be permanent. If you find yourself questioning if it works or thinking our government might be lying, consult a doctor, because that means it's not working.
Take this stupid new world in stride with once daily Fug-It-All from Pfizer. Gotta get me some of that.
All right. Breaking news.
Oh, you should. It totally works. I mean, I had some the other day and then listened to a Biden speech, and it all made sense.
Your eyes. This is nothing new. They just put their trademark on vodka. Breaking news.
Oh, hang on. Gotta have the breaking news sounder.
Breaking news.
Okay.
Queen is still dead. Oh no! Other and real breaking news.
She's dead.
Tulsi Gabbard, whose last name really looks like Scabbard, but we should probably not go there because I think somebody would talk about Freud. Is the new Joe Leiberman, except Tulsi's are bigger and made of brass because she really quit.
I can no longer remain in today's Democratic Party that's under the complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers who are driven by cowardly wokeness, who divide us by racializing every issue and stoking anti-white racism, who actively work to undermine our God-given freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution, who are hostile to people of faith and spirituality, who demonize the police but protect criminals at the expense of law-abiding Americans, who believe in open borders, who weaponize the national security state to go after their political opponents, and above all, who are dragging us ever closer to nuclear war.
So my first question on this is, do you think she's consciously going for the Bride of Frankenstein streak in her hair?
I think it just occurs naturally.
Well,
maybe she bumped her head really hard and it just turned that spot white. That actually happened to a guy I went to school with. When he was a kid, his sister hit him in the back of the head with a golf club. And so from then forward, that little patch in the back of his head grew in white. So he had a little spot in the back of his head.
And that would have been his nickname in high school, I would imagine.
Maybe that's where Biden tried to sniff her hair.
Oh, man. Gabbard ran for president as a Democrat in 2020, made the announcement via social media on Tuesday.
Less than 2 years ago, she was running for president on their ticket. But I have to tell you, though, I think that eventually it happens because, again, I was a former Democrat, and this is the way it happened with me, and I bet it happened with her, that you just get up one morning and you just go, I can't do this anymore. I'm a Republican.
You can call me a lot of things, but don't call me a Republican. The former congressman from Hawaii, just like Joe Leiberman. He's from Hawaii.
Yes,
no, okay.
He is.
Served in the House from 2013 to 2021 as the vice chair of the Democratic National Campaign Committee from 2013 to 2016, a combat veteran with deployments in the Middle East and Africa, and is a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. I don't think she's really particularly good on Second Amendment issues, though.
But, do you think maybe it could have something to do with, I don't know, Hillary calling, and a lot of other Democrats too, calling her a Russian stooge and a Russian spy?
I'm not making any predictions, but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far.
And it's like she drinks the blood of children.
Well, do you see the image I have up?
I do. That's what I'm saying. It's like she, yeah. Who shall I kill next? Oh my. Well, of course she would want to. Boy, man, if she has a portrait of Dorian Gray, I don't want to see that thing. I'll tell you what. Shall we move on for this one, or do you have some comments on Tulsi's change of heart, Mark?
Oh no! I was just thinking that if Hillary had some sort of correspondence to, or a painting corresponding to the picture of Dorian Gray, it's probably hanging in their Haitian children's charity office.
There you go. So. Switching gears to the lighter side.
I don't know. We don't know that Hillary is not involved in this next story.
Yeah. A tree trimmer was killed after he fell into a wood chipper. Do you have a picture of a wood chipper?
Sorry. What's that? Do I have
a picture of a wood chipper to put up there?
I have a picture of people. Yes, there they are feeding trees into a wood chipper. Or were you thinking more along the lines of this?
Yeah, that's
That's
wood
the
chipper's
one.
fine. And I just keep wondering, why did they keep putting trees into the journalist machine?
Well, what I was wondering is what exactly did this tree trimmer know about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, there you go. Or yeah, because on Tuesday, October 12th, the man who's not identified and is probably not very identifiable is now in mulch in Menlo
Well,
Park,
I'm sure they
California.
looked around the crew and said, "Okay, where's Bob?" Uh-oh.
And as we know now, it's completely legal for him to just be left in place there in California.
That's right.
People can be mulched. By the time police arrived at the scene, the man was deceased. Well, you think?
Duh.
Investigators did not know how he managed to fall into the machine. I'm thinking maybe gravity.
Again, what did he know about Hillary Clinton? Yeah. The Family Guy, I think, sums it up nicely for us.
Hey, what do you say you and me go for a walk in the woods?
You know what? This is kind of nice. I thought you were going to do some kind of Godfather murder on me.
Oh, Brian, I don't watch mafia movies, but I did see Fargo.
Huh?
Yes. Hillary's playbook on film. Workers at the scene and the company they work for refused to comment. I'm willing to bet maybe they didn't speak any English. So the California Occupational Safety and Health Administration is investigating the accident. I mean, it's going to be he fell into the wood chipper and he got mulched.
And that's
there's really, yeah, it's just not a lot to a story like that. I mean, interesting. Why did you choose this one? The missus.
What's that?
Why did you choose this one?
Because it's not every day that death by wood chipper comes up. I mean, really, it's that Fargo movie. Can you think of any other?
That's probably enough.
Though I don't think that there are a lot of just partial accidents with wood chippers. I could be wrong about this. You know, where you get part of your body stuck in the wood chipper, but you don't. The rest of you doesn't go in.
I'm not even gonna.
I don't know.
All right. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh, this must be October because you're into the gruesome stories because the next story is equally gruesome. For those of you playing the home version.
No one died in the next story.
Yeah, but it's pretty rough. Playing the home version of the internet, the latest outrage is who to blame when the cat gets encased in a wall. The contractor, you as the owner or Edgar Allan Poe?
So I hired somebody to redo the bathroom. They pulled out the bathtub and put in the new shower thing. And as I'm sitting here trying to figure out where my cat is, I can hear the cat crying from somewhere in here. Only me. Only me. So I end up punching a hole in the wall and out comes this. Yes, the contractor, the stupid ass contractor, drywalled my cat into the drywall underneath the bathtub. The story of my life.
How is she the victim in all this? She was not the one who was walled up in the drywall.
And why did she hire an ass contractor?
Well, I think the real question that needs to be answered by this story is, what does the bathroom remodel look like? And here it is. It's quite lovely. I mean, you know, I think we'd have to get Kitty Cat's side of the story to know if it's worth being walled up in drywall, but where did that come from? And also, I would just like to say that now Ceiling Cat has competition.
There you go. So her name is Ashley Haddon.
Ashlyn, not Ashley. Ashlyn.
Yeah, whatever. Video poster and drywall cat owner. She probably calls herself a pet parent. He posted the video showing her beautifully renovated bathroom. On September 28th, she left her home in Noblesville, Indiana. She sounds like that and lives in Indiana.
I know, right?
Jim, why do you leave her? Indiana, Jim, you got to fix that up.
You
buddy.
can't hold Jim responsible for this.
Oh, while she was away, she arranged for a contractor to reconstruct a bathroom in her house. I'm a single mom, and I love my bath. So, why is it the first thing you ever hear about a single mom is that they're a single mom? Okay.
Why does
Anyway.
she consider herself a single mom because she has a cat?
See, I was confused about that too when I first read this story, but she does actually have 2 human children whom she really doesn't mention at all in the story.
Mm-hmm.
That's because she walled them up in there.
Well, no, she just left them in their crates in the closet. Come on, kennel up, kids.
so I just wanted a new bathtub, like a taller bathtub, so I could get in the bathtub and actually be underwater. And I think her husband probably wanted her underwater too. I think he was very upset he didn't have a bathtub where he could hold her just a little bit more underwater.
Single mom.
Yeah.
Single mom.
Right.
There's
a reason she's single. I think the real question here is what the remodel ended. We saw the remodel. Jim notes that some years ago he was replacing subflooring on the ground floor, and his cat got himself between the subfloor and the basement ceiling. But Jim foiled his evil plan. He's not blind. And he also notes that Noblesville, we call that Noble Tucky. Noble Tucky. Oh, man.
So on a true story, though, my grandfather, probably about, 20 years ago, was having his bathroom remodeled. And it was an old house. It was an old farmhouse. And in fact, originally when they bought the house, it did not have indoor plumbing. It didn't have running water. So they had refit all of it to have running water in there. And the bathroom he was having remodeled was really kind of an old lean-to that had just been cobbled onto the end of the house. So he had the contractor who was in the bathroom tearing stuff out, was taking the ceiling out. And as he was taking out the ceiling tiles, a black snake fell out of the ceiling onto the contractor's head, which really, really made my grandfather laugh.
Your grandfather had a but for him to laugh, it wouldn't,
it had to be a real snake.
Yeah, it had to be a real snake. If he was going to laugh at a woman falling down the stairs on television, it had to be a real old woman.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of October and gruesome, I think it's time for our next commercial.
Well, go forth and
Mom, what's for dinner?
Hey, moms, is this a question you get every night? And when you answer, all you hear is,
"Again? That's so boring."
Well, you can make your dinners go from no way to oh yay with a little help from Human Burger Helper. When the kids get tired of the same old thing, night after night, try some tasty, nutritious cannibalism. And it's easy to prepare. In just under 30 minutes, you can have a hot, tasty meal on the table and ready to eat. All you have to add is the meat, so give the neighbors a call and have them over for dinner with new Human Burger Helper. And hear your family go from to
Hey, Mom, can I have seconds?
Of course, dear. The Petersons have a big family, and we have Human Burger Helper.
Yummy. I think I was a little congested when I did that.
Dark.
Hey, it's
All
October. Right. I'm allowed.
It's time for the Brain Jackass of the Week.
This is Neil Young.
Hey, get that jackass out of here!
And I'm proud to present my Brain Jackass of the Week.
I believe he was originally from Noble Tucky, or Neil Young. Person number 1 is our reigning long-term champion, Kamala Harris, who in the wake of Hurricane Ian,
I'm not sure how exactly you're supposed to pronounce that.
Or Wonan, says relief aid needs to be given out in a more equitable manner.
We have to address this in a way that is about giving resources based on equity, understanding that we fight for equality, but we also need to fight for equity, understanding not everyone starts out at the same place. And if we want people to be in an equal place, sometimes we have to take into account those disparities and do that work.
I'm surprised she didn't laugh while she was talking about that.
She did. I heard her. I heard the giggling.
There was a little bit of it, just a little bit.
And so, in other words, she's saying that, you get money based upon what happened 150 years ago. Outstanding. No, the White House wasn't quick to explain that that was not what she meant. Was that what happened?
They said that was not what she meant. Andrew Bates, White House Deputy Press Secretary, called the claims that Harris said aid should be given out with respect to race inaccurate. He told PolitiFact the vice president was addressing a different subject, long-term climate resilience investments passed with strong bipartisan support. Whatever that means.
So
no, she didn't mean that.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, how do you top that? Let's go to PayPal.
PayPal can try.
Thousands of PayPal users closed their accounts last week. More than thousands, tens of thousands, after the company issued a new policy on misinformation.
The bot will read for us.
You may not use the PayPal service for activities that involve the sending, posting, or publication of any messages, content, or materials that, in PayPal's sole discretion, are harmful, obscene, harassing, or objectionable. Violation of this acceptable use policy constitutes a violation of the PayPal user agreement and may subject you to damages, including liquidated damages of $2,500 per violation, which may be debited directly from your PayPal accounts.
So we'll just take the money right out of your account if we find you doing this anywhere on social media.
And that's just based, it's entirely on our discussion. So the company quickly issued a statement that this was not company policy, and the original statement had been released in error. And having been part of the corporate world at one point in my life, I know that nothing like this would be released without having been reviewed by teams of lawyers, by teams of people in the media department. This was entirely and intentionally the policy. They're just backtracking.
Well, even if they didn't mean to release it, somebody wrote that.
No, and it was reviewed by
Yes.
reviewed by the attorneys. It was approved through management. Mark, what do you think?
Well, I would note that even though they backed down on the misinformation part, they're still pressing ahead on that with that policy in regard to criticisms of diversity and inclusion.
See, Pugsley was trying to tell me something about this earlier, but he was a little discombobulated, so I wasn't sure that he was right, because he said something along the lines of what Mark just said, that they changed it from misinformation to being like racist stuff, that they would do that for. Is that the gist that you got of that, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at their policy, they listed like 3 things, one of which was misinformation, and then they had the 2 other points, and all they backed down on was that misinformation portion.
Yes, indeed. So, completely not a mistake. So, Mark, who is our brain jackass of the week? Is it?
Well, it's going to have to be PayPal because they're still pursuing it.
And I will agree with you.
Oh, wait, that's my cue, isn't it?
Yes.
And this has been Neil Young's Brain Jackass of the Week.
All right, time for Think Real Fast. Musk appeasement of Putin and China strokes fear of new Twitter policies. You think they'll sell them Twitter, Mark?
Yeah.
Yep. 44 billion is 44 billion. They'll take the money and run. Elon rejects plea for Starlink in Crimea. Should he turn on Starlink and turn on World War III, the missus?
What now?
Starlink, Crimea.
I thought he already did that.
No, it's turned off. So,
but I thought it was turned on, and then he turned it off just recently.
Yeah, he turned it off in Crimea.
Okay. So should he turn it back on? But I mean, it was on before, right?
It was on. Turn it off or on? You're making it too complicated.
It's too complicated.
Okay.
I blame China.
China. I'll give you an easier one. Alex Jones damages are $1 billion. Can he sell that many water filters?
I think he's going to have to run and drink a lot of Absolutely Orange or whatever it's called. If he's gonna crap out that much money.
Mark, how much will he really owe after appeal?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the law is on it, but a lot of states limit the amount of the punitive damages, and I'm sure that's all punitive damages. So my guess is it'll probably get cut down to, $2 or $3 million or whatever.
Yeah. Janet Yellen worries over adequate liquidity in treasuries. Time to panic? Sherry.
No, we should just all remain calm.
All right.
Because what time is it? It's time for
massive cannibalism.
Indeed. Speaking of banks and problems, Kanye West just got canceled by his bank, J.P. Morgan Chase. Mark, do you think he's going to take the money and run?
Take the money and run where? I mean, all the banks are going to do it to him. I guess he could go to his local credit union.
Or buy a bank, right?
Maybe.
He could just open his own.
They'll just freeze him out, though, if he tried to open his own.
All right.
But what if he's the only customer?
All right. Outraged Biden team vows consequences for Saudi Arabia over OPEC cuts. And what are they upset about? They're upset because OPEC made the cuts in October and not November. So, what will the consequences be, Mark?
Nothing.
You are correct.
I was going to foot him.
Maybe Biden will visit them again. That'll be the penalty.
That's their punishment, yeah.
True internet suffered to pressure.
All right. So names in the news. Who will be indicted first? Hunter Biden, Donald Trump, or Kanye West? The missus.
Oh, Kanye, definitely.
Mark.
I agree.
Yeah, I do too. They never indict each other.
No, never. It's all smoke.
It really is. All right. Anybody else have any other think real fast comments?
Oh, did you hear that in the Durham trial for what's his name? Dashenko? Is that his name? Is underway currently. Not that you'd ever hear anything about it in the mainstream media, but they did get a guy on the stand today to admit that the FBI offered Christopher Steele $1 million to prove that the Steele dossier was true, and he didn't take it because he couldn't do it. So clearly the FBI knew it was all fake before any of this stuff began. This was before the FISA courts and all of that.
There you go. But the FBI is just above reproach.
FBI, open up!
We said you're above reproach. Let's see.
Well, they thought you said that they were just above a cockroach.
Trying to see if there's any other. Oh, and you saw, of course, in San Antonio, there was a police officer, 17-year-old kid having a hamburger, sitting in the parking lot, parked car. Officer shoots him. Who was wrong here? Really, who was wrong there?
Well, clearly it was the kid. It was clearly the kid because that hamburger looked like a gun.
It was a mercy killing. He was eating it was a McDonald's cheeseburger.
Good point. Good point, Mark.
Actually, the kid did survive, and I think he is going to end up owning a lot of San Antonio's money.
He can be an investor in Kanye's bank.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, Pfizer admits, I'm telling this for YouTube, Pfizer admits their vaccine was not tested for transmission due to the speed of science. So,
the speed of science?
That's literally what they said. because it's why would you be a science denier?
See, and I was gonna pull the clip on that, but I didn't want to do that because I thought YouTube certainly would kill us. I mean, figuratively speaking.
So my question.
Not that they'll send people to our house.
My question is this: Pfizer, did they rush the vaccine to market too fast, and are thus guilty of the crime of premature inoculation?
Thank
you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I laughed.
All right. We're not going to talk about LA's city council, which just looks amazing.
Well, because they got caught on record saying things that no one should be caught on record saying. Didn't the chairperson resign? I heard that.
Oh yeah, and then
she did.
Yeah, the whole thing is unraveling out in LA, but the people in the tent cities can't vote. So
well, I'm thoroughly disappointed because there's no rioting
yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah.
It's not riot season. All right. And I think that's probably about all that I have for this week. Anybody else have any other comments? Any closing bits, thoughts?
No, it's like we're all ready to be done.
All right. Well, on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our wildly successful podcast, ranked #1 in the podcasts that are produced here in our basement. Thank you once again, Mark.
You're welcome.
And the missus.
You're just kind of so. And look, we missed it again. So I just keep talking. We'll wrap it up, Wilder.
Y'all come back now.